Welcome. Hey, Austin, I have a good question for you. Just give me a good idea on how to build security culture.
Sure. Being accessible to your employee base is a great way to build culture.
That's a good idea. All right. Brad, do the opposite for me. Give me a bad way to build security culture.
Ooh,
Oh, your audio is out. Hold on. Wait, your audio.
you're
What happened
muted,
to your
Brad.
audio, Brad? Do it again.
Am
There
I
we go.
there?
Okay, now do it.
Okay.
Give me a bad idea on how to deal with security culture.
All right. Let's start replacing employees with AI.
Ooh, that's a good bad idea. Austin, back to you. Give me a worse idea.
Letting everyone bring their own device instead of furnishing them with company hardware.
Yep, that's pretty bad. All right. Hey, everybody, we're about to begin.
Get ready. It's Super Cyber Friday.
Hey, welcome everybody to Hacking Security Culture. It's today's Super Cyber Friday. Our topic of discussing this, an hour of critical discussion on motivating the entire organization to always be thinking conscientiously about security. Think about that. So like when I took martial arts and they say, when you get really good at martial arts, even in your relaxed mode, you're kind of always at the ready. Same idea here. All right. Oh, and so here are our two guests who you just met them. That's Austin Wolf. He's Staff Information Security Analyst over at Code 42. And also Brad Kroll, who's the third-party risk manager over at Best Buy. Our sponsor is Code 42. Thank you so much, Code 42, the insider risk management leader, Code 42. All right, 7 different ways to participate. Those of you who are regulars are familiar with it. You can join the chat room. Our best bad idea topic is how not to build security culture. I'm guaranteeing that this is going to get us a lot of bad ideas because this is a juicy one. How not to build security culture. You just heard 2 bad ones right there. Come up with your own. We'll have a poll. But also, we want to know your good ideas. And the question is, are you capable of coming up with more good ideas than bad ideas? My guess is no. But prove me wrong. All right, we'll vote in the polls. Anyone can come on video at any time. Just type in "bring me on," and we'll try to get as many of you on video to ask a question, make a comment any time during the show. Also, ask a question. If you look at the very bottom of the screen right there, you can ask a question. Vote for your favorite question as well. Today's schedule, you just saw good advice, bad advice. We'll do the bad ideas, and also we'll ask for your 10% tips as well. We'll play the public interest. Then we'll put our poll live for both the bad ideas and the good ideas after that. And then we'll play the Department of Yes. We'll have last question advice. Then we will do our meetup. And that's a lot of fun. If you have not come to the meetup, I want you to come to the meetup. It is a lot of fun. We've been off air for about, I think, 7 weeks for a lot of different reasons. And actually, because of a lot of conflict, we're not actually going to do nearly the volume of these shows that we've done before. So I think we've got about three more episodes before the end of July as well. Hey, our next scheduled show will be next Friday, though, and that'll be Hacking the Software Supply Chain, an hour of critical discussion of catching intruders in your SDLC pipeline. Guess what? There's a link at the bottom of the screen. If you click on that, you will be able to register for that chat that's happening next week, and it will not take you out of this one. You won't come out of this one at all. You'll stay in this one, and you can chat next week. And the advantage of doing that, and I didn't mention it, is if you register early, you can win a CISO Series jacket. And in fact, someone tell Ricardo Nolasco da Nobrega that he has won. He's of World Fuel Services. I sent him a message he's won, and he has not pinged me back. So Dustin Sachs, you work with him. Let him know he's won. Respond to my email. He's won the jacket. Hopefully he's here, too. Are you here, Ricardo? Check, by the way, Aaron, check to see if Ricardo's online here with us. All right, let's begin our show. Why not? I've wasted enough time with our nonsense. Austin, Brad, let's just start with it. Let's just start. We're going to start high, and we're going to go down to details. Where do you look to build a security culture? Where do you look for opportunities? Either one of you jump in here.
Sure. Yeah, go ahead, Brad.
Okay. Yeah. Thanks. Honestly, I think you can find it, anywhere where you can create engagement to influence behaviors, right? The behaviors that you want to see to improve your overall security culture and posture, even if you're not at a leadership level. So, for example, on my team, We've got a diverse set of skills that we all bring to the table. And what we've done is on a bi-monthly basis, we have created what we call Hacky Hour. And so each person on the team, we allow them to come to the table, just share their knowledge with us, and ultimately make us better security professionals. As an individual as well, you can look for opportunities in, just how you interact with everyday, people in the business. I worked at a company where, I would badge in, and then it's common courtesy to hold the door open for the next person. Right. And so sometimes people would not badge in, they would just walk right in behind you, piggybacking. Right. And so, if you want to increase the security culture, in a scenario like that, you simply ask, hey, where's your badge? Oh, it's in my car. Okay, you need to go get it. Right. So you just look for everyday opportunities like that.
So how, but like for example, that's a good example, and that's actually physical security too, but it all goes together.
Yeah.
How, a lot of people's attitude is, well, this person seems safe, I'm not going to do it. It's more courteous to open the door, keeping the thing. Austin, how do you start making it something important that they care about? Like, we were talking to some person who was in the military and just said, like, there are these procedures in the military that are known, try to be as frictionless as possible, but since everybody knows them, they know what they're getting into and in the procedures. So how do we sort of accept the fact, like, these are the procedures and it's the value for all of us? Like, how do they start to know and care about it, I guess, is my question.
Yeah, I think especially when you talk about like a physical security, sort of something like that, where there's a cultural aspect to it, not just culture in a security culture way, but like in a human sort of interaction way. It's easier when there's a critical mass, when it's just the accepted behavior pattern is to do the following. So ensuring that you're providing folks a way to do their job in a way that's secure is probably the best way to get that to be the default response. So setting things up in a way that is, to your point, as frictionless as possible to get you going in the right direction is gonna benefit you.
Let me remind everybody, get your questions in, please do that. So this is the question I always ask, how do you know that your community, without you bothering them, but how do they let you know that they do care about security? Brad.
Oh, that's a good question. Honestly, I lean to reporting and metrics. I think there's valuable stories there. And if you don't have anything built out, there's an opportunity to start capturing that data. And so, if you're looking to start a program like that, you just kind of, define where you want to go, what you want to capture, you identify where you're currently at, and then you start, implementing engagements, right? Some type of activity to encourage, increasing your security culture. And
is there some metric that speaks better than others?
I think it depends really on the company. I think all of your metrics should really serve the company's mission, and so that's gonna vary vastly from one company to the next. But if you're a common one, right, is a phishing simulation failures, right? That's a good indicator of how aware your people are.
Mm-hmm.
Sure.
Yeah.
What's your answer? Like, what's your telltale sign that they're paying attention?
It's a tough one because frankly, measuring culture is always challenging. Like as you say, Brad, reaching for something like a phishing simulation responses and all that is great, but really, it's what you want is for people to be thinking in a security way, being security minded when you're not looking. So I don't know. It's hard to see folks walk the walk, but that's what you're really looking for, is that it's being followed when there isn't somebody there looking over your shoulder.
Hold on. I'm gonna quote. This is actually coming in an article that Code 42 is sponsoring, and I'm going to tease it already. It's actually, I think, the last quote in the article. It goes, security is, or you've got security when other people, it's what people talk about when you're not in the room.
Sure. Yeah.
And I thought that was a good line.
Yeah. Or when they're calling you, when you have more influx or you're getting anything back from the company, because typically, security is having to insert itself into processes. If you have stuff coming back from the business, that's also another great indicator that you're sort of going in the right direction.
I like Brian Colt's 10% better tip. Be the yes how person
Yes.
in your organization. And we are going to be playing the Department of Yes with your horrible ideas. So, Brian, the challenge is being thrown down to both Brad and Austin on just this. All right, we're, by the way, a handful of minutes away from playing the public interest, of which we have a tailored series of questions to that. A question has come in. Let me see what this is. This comes from Dwayne Grand. What do you think is the single best? Oh, this was kind of the question I was asking before, but what do you think is the single best indicator of an effective security culture in an organization? So I said that, which I thought was a good line, was it's them talking about security when you're not in the room, which, by the way, is a hard thing to measure.
Yeah.
But if it exists, that's awesome. Let's talk about phishing tests, simulations, those improving, which we've heard a lot of varying degrees of argument on that, because you can make you can make a phishing test that can break everybody and one that everyone can catch.
Sure.
There are varying levels of degrees of visibility. All right, I'm taking it back to you, Austin. What do you think it is?
Yeah, I mean, I think I said it earlier. It's about when you're when folks are coming to you with these things, when they're thinking about it, when you can see that what you're asking about on a regular basis is making some sort of impression.
Yeah. Let me take actually to Dwayne Grand's 10% better tip, where he says, when someone makes a mistake and reports to the security team, begin by thanking them. These are your brave people who are doing the right thing. Yeah. Let me ask you, Brad, is how much do you close the loop in a situation like that? Like, I've come to you, I saw this situation. How much feedback do you give me in something like that? So I know that what I did had some value.
Honestly, I mean, just having that one-on-one conversation is...
Well, the thing is, I alerted you of something. The thing is, now you need to go and investigate whatever the thing I alerted you about. What my question is, how much does that come back to me in terms of, hey, guess what? Thanks for telling us about that, because A, B, C, D, E, we discovered, kind of a thing. And this is what you saved our ass from, something like that. Did that ever happen?
Sure. Yeah. I mean, and that's where that one-on-one conversation is so important, right? It's just, sorry. So, you discover something, you investigate, and you go back to them, and you give them that feedback, and really you explain the why to, you always bring the why to the table, so that they understand, what they did was valuable. Like you said, really saved our ass. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. Because if you say, because you did this, you saved us from this. Had you not done this, and so have you had those conversations, Austin?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. Where something comes into, we've got an email inbox for our company where anybody can send basically any problem. Basically, we leave it open to say, if you have a thing that you're not sure about, send it to us and we'll take a look. So not only being consistent in responding to everything that comes in there to make sure that folks know that they're not just hollering into the void, but just to make sure that we are having those follow-ups to say exactly as you said, here's what we discovered as a result of what you shared with us. Folks tend to find that interesting. Sometimes seeing behind the curtain a little bit can increase the incentive a little bit to say, to sort of bring them into that, because obviously they realized what they were looking at was something that may be interesting to you. So explaining what you did and how you use that piece of information can really increase that incentive to have folks come forward with that.
Ian Pointer, by the way, brings up this whole thing of prizes. Now, for good behavior, have you guys ever done something like that? And my whole feeling is that's good, but how long can that last?
I haven't. Other than praise, other than just verbal praise, which frankly feels like a reward sometimes, because typically what you get from security is not praise. Yeah.
What about you, Brad? What have you done? Praise, prizes, anything like that? What have you done?
Yeah, I mean, praise is always a big one. What can get tough is if you're giving out some type of tangible, reward. And Austin and I have actually seen this go sideways before. It can kind of do the opposite of what you want, where you're starting to now influence bad behavior, right? Mm-hmm. Because there's now incentive, for doing what's not wanted, right?
All right. All right, I think we are ready to play our next game, so I'm going to set us up right now. Here we
There's a
go.
lot of tremendously bad ideas out here.
Oh yeah, I knew this one would do well.
Yeah.
Do you know what others are thinking? On the public interest.
All right, here it is. Our audience knows how to play this game. You know how to play this game. Remember, only 4 questions here. Really, they're all A/B questions, but though you'll see the letters change for our audience. Audience, please play along. By the way, Ian says we gave away $5 Starbucks gift cards. You do have to be careful not to create a stampede, kind of things.
Sure.
Yeah, the whole thing with gamifying, is that it can't be something you can do forever. I think it's one of those things where it works for short periods of time. I'd be interested to know if anyone's like, what's the longest gamification anyone's ever sort of successfully pulled off? Please speak up, because I don't know how long you can do that for.
Or the other thing is public recognition inside of a company. Like if you have a kudos Slack channel at your company or whatever, calling folks out for good stuff in that way is also a good way to build that up, because that's an intangible thing, but can be very valuable for somebody.
All right.
Yeah. And to the point of gamification, I mean, David, I think you're right on that. How long can you do it for? Because as humans, we get bored quick. So it's just like
I love games, but there's no one game I like playing forever.
Exactly. And you're constantly having to switch it up, and
all right,
it's a lot of effort.
We got the public interest. Let's play this and we'll come back to our conversation. Here we go. Most average monthly search queries. Audience, please play along. Remember, 4 out of 4 is always super tough. So we'll see if anyone can pull it off. 4 out of 4. All right. I ask you both, Brad and Austin, what is it? Security awareness or phishing test? Which gets more monthly search queries?
Bravo. Phishing test.
Phishing test? What do you think?
I'm going to go with that as well.
All right, both select B, and the correct answer is no. Oh, both zeros. So your 4 for 4 is gone.
See, chat was with us.
We got a lot of B's in there. Any A's?
Wow.
Dutch with the A. Good job,
Dutch.
So everyone else is out for their 4 for 4. So it looks like Dutch is the only one in for 4 for 4, if he can do it. All right. Most average monthly search queries, insider threat or user error. What do you think?
I'll go user error.
User error?
I'll go C, insider threat.
Okay, so insider threat for Austin, user error for Brad, and the correct answer is insider threat.
Good.
C. Good job, everybody on that one. Who got C? No, we got a lot of D's. Dutch blows it. So no one's gonna get 4 for 4 now. All right, this one. Most average monthly search queries. If you see something, say something, or neighborhood watch. What gets more search queries? If you see something, say something, or neighborhood watch?
I'll go with E.
I'm also going to go E.
E, which was an actual government program, and the correct answer is no, neighborhood watch.
Wow, by a long shot.
Yeah, by a long shot. I think it's because if you see something, say something with a well-known government program, but it was federal. Neighborhood watch is local, so there's lots of them. So. So that was it. So unfortunately, right now, as I'm calculating right now, you just have one, Brad, correct? And Austin, you've got 0?
I
got
have
1.
0.
Oh, you got 1. I'm sorry.
I got the insider
1 for Austin. Right. Okay, Brad, you got 0. Make it up, Brad, on this last one.
Try.
Honest mistake or malicious insider? Which one?
I'll go malicious insider.
Ooh, I'll also say malicious insider.
Malicious insider? No, honest
Not even
mistake.
close. Oh, man. No head for this. No head
Brad,
for this.
what happened?
We've got to get
if it was, by the way, if it was get everything perfectly wrong, you would have killed it.
Yeah, how many of those
that's
have you
how
had?
coin flips work, right? Yeah.
All right. By the way, one was trying to say it's too many words. That is true. In most cases with these searches, too many words doesn't do it. But this was a very specific program that was quite popular, or was tried to be made popular. So we thought that would drive some traffic there. All right. Please get your bad ideas in. We are going to put in what time we got now? We're just a couple minutes away. Yeah, literally, get your bad ideas. You know what? Let's hold this off one more minute. By the way, I think is it Aaron or Andrew saying pinball? I can play pinball forever. Actually, I can't play pinball forever, although I do enjoy playing. So let's get back to our discussion in hand. Do we have any more questions? Lauren, you're asking the question that we're pretty much asking for the whole thing, which is how do you recommend getting non-technical employees invest in security posture? That's our entire discussion. That's exactly what we're talking about here. But let's get into more specifics. Let's talk about, this is an issue that you brought up, Austin, and I want everyone to hear about this. And this is this concept of empathetic investigation. And this goes to this whole thing of, am I going to get in trouble because I made a mistake?
Sure.
I want to delve into this because I know all the security people say, if you did something wrong, just tell us, please. And everyone's like, oh,
Sure.
geez, I really don't
Yeah.
want to. Aaron is opening up the poll right now, so we're going to have the best bad idea poll up. Oh, by the way, before we get into this, Austin, if you have not clicked the link at the bottom of the screen to register for next week's event, that's the Hacking the Supply Chain, please click on it. It won't take you out of this. You can register and still be in this at the same time. All right, empathetic investigation. I want to walk through, and I'm eager for everybody else's thoughts on this, of how do you make people feel eager and want to come forward when they make a mistake, and how do you treat them?
Sure.
Go for it, Austin.
Yeah, I think you got it in your question. It's sort of about how you treat them at that point.
Yeah.
The coming to security with a problem, I mean, it's hard for anybody, sort of telling yourself in that way. Like you, even as we talk about like phishing tests and things like that, folks are often encouraged to like, hey, if you click on it, go ahead and reach out to us. Like that, that is a hard thing to do, to ask anyone to do with a security event. But I think to try to set them at ease when they do come to you, when you do get those instances where somebody comes to you.
Can you actually give me the dialogue? Like, I come to you, oh geez,
Sure.
All right, I know I screwed up. I clicked this link. I realized after it seemed fishy, something else came up. What have I screwed up? What have I done wrong? How do you talk to that person?
Sure. Thank you, David. I really appreciate you bringing this issue to us. We're going to work to figure this out. You coming to us as soon as you knew that something had happened is going to make this a lot easier to deal with. So that was absolutely the right thing to do. So to make sure that somebody knows that what they've done is correct, that you're going to work with them to figure this situation out, that it's, you don't start with, boy, oh boy, you better start packing up your desk. Like, I mean, not that people say that, but it's,
but they, often some people's like, they do one of those, crap, what did you do? Like that.
Oh,
and
sure.
Like, Brad, how have you handled this in the past?
Yeah, same way as Austin, basically. People are in an emotional state when they fail, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so anytime that they come forward, that's a win. That's a huge win. But helping them understand what's all involved, what's next, again, depending on the company, whether or not there's consequences, that's all based on those policies. But
sure. And that's not usually for us as security analysts,
right? Exactly.
Anyway, like that,
exactly.
You are sort of that person's friend in that moment.
Mm-hmm.
You're there to help them.
Yeah,
right.
I think just remembering that we're all human, we're all susceptible,
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
to phishing. We really are. And so just bringing that human element to the table is so important.
Yeah.
Hold on, wait. Danny Ing just said, good idea. Everyone having access to everything. What the, Danny? What is that about?
I was actually reading here Dwayne's idea about the sort of blameless culture.
No blame culture. Yeah, bring that up. That's good.
Yeah, is tremendous, and we have striven to do blameless postmortems when you have an incident, especially when it's somebody who has made a mistake, to try to approach that in a way that yes, somebody made a mistake, but people make mistakes. That's what happens. You push a wrong button, a change gets reversed when it shouldn't have, whatever. To make sure that you can approach it from a, how do we prevent this? How do we learn from this? I was saying to Brad earlier that it's not always about whether or not you made the mistake, but it's how you respond to it. That's really the measure of a person, or the measure of how impactful an event is. So ensuring that you can be graceful in your recovery is almost more important than not making the mistake in the first place. Learning from it, moving on, making sure that you've got, a change.
By the way, Danny said yes, he's behind his good idea. Yes, Brad, go ahead.
Yeah, I was just going to say, just add to that, I think just being vulnerable, right, and showing that, bringing that to the table too, just really can put people at ease.
Mm-hmm.
There's and Ian Pointer has this line, no blame means also no consequences, report it and get immunity. I mean, people will tell stories like if I screwed something up and I told, you, and all of a sudden I get a reprimand or something, or I'm made a fool of, or who the heck knows what happens. I'm going to be upset about it, and others will see it. And then if they see it, well, the heck, nobody's going to come forward at that time, right? I mean, this is part of the reason for the no blame culture is that it will just hurt the security program overall. No one's going to come forward after that. It's like, oh, I don't want to get screwed up over like David got screwed over,
Yeah, that seed of doubt when a mistake is made and you realize it, you're like, ooh, is anybody going to find this? And that's the moment that you want somebody to say, I am confident that it can only benefit me to reach out to the security program, to the security department.
All right, I just want to know that Brian Colt currently, it appears, has the 2 most voted up bad ideas. We have to have Brian up against somebody here. So we need more votes on the bad ideas, people. Get them in. We have, how much time? Well, we've got, I think, what time do we go to? We got 15 more minutes. So you're good. Get the votes in. You got 15 more minutes to vote for the best bad ideas, and we'll move forward here as well.
Yeah,
go ahead.
I was gonna say I can totally empathize with the no blame having limitations. Obviously, you get frequent flyers, you get folks who are constantly making mistakes. That's a real good indicator. That's an opportunity for making sure that somebody is in a role that is a good fit for them. You can't say there's never going to be consequences.
I'm interested about this frequent flyer thing of people screwing up, like the people who just are click happy on phishing emails, and
it happens.
And they just do, hey, I guess I did it again, whatever. But like that kind of, like, do you get those kind of people?
Yeah, they're
Oh, really?
it's a pyramid, right? So that's the smallest group of people, hopefully, that you have in a phishing program, for example, or in even just a general, here are the issues that come up with your security program. The average person just having been caught by the phishing thing and realizing it is plenty. That's plenty of training. That's plenty of an interaction. They're going to be more conscious of it next time. But if you're not being thoughtful about it going forward, if you're continuing to repeat the same mistakes, that again is a good indicator that you either have a misfit for the role, somebody's doing a technical job when they probably don't have the aptitude, or it's an opportunity for training to make sure that they understand what the stakes are and why being conscious and being careful is more important.
So I've told this story. I want to ask you a question because I've told this story before, and I want to get your thoughts on it. Could there be an equivalent of like some kind of either a digital padded room or like a quarantine center for people who are the repeat offenders or frequent flyers?
Sure.
The reason I bring this up is because a friend of mine who works HR for a company, they actually let a mechanic go who was, now he's not a knowledge worker. He wasn't permanently on computer, but he had minimal attention. He was a mechanic, and he just kept failing phishing tests over and over and over again. And had tons of training, and they actually let him go.
Yeah.
So now, do you let someone like that go, or do you create, like what I said, a digital padded room? I want, Brad, your take on this. What do you do with someone like that who just can't control themselves?
Yeah, the digital padded room is such an interesting concept. I think I need to marinate on that more.
All right, I'm coming back to you. I'll come back to you, Austin. What's your thoughts?
Oh, I've got other thoughts, though.
Okay, what's your other thought? I'm sorry.
No.
Go ahead.
So I think in a situation like that, I think you have to understand where they're failing, why they're failing. Is it just a complete disconnect with the training materials? I know that sometimes phishing, the simulation trainings, they only go up to a certain point, right? Like they say, here's how to spot the emails, right? Don't click the link. Okay. But for the average user, well, what happens after I click the link? Like how far can I get before something is compromised? What does the phishing attacker, what does their perspective look like? All of those things, maybe communicate that to the person so they understand the why behind it. So if they fail at that, after all of that effort, then, let's put them in that digital padded room.
The digital padded room.
Yeah.
All right, Austin, your thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, I think there have to be limits. If it's a requirement for somebody's job to have access to technical systems, but they cannot demonstrate that they're able to utilize that in a safe and secure manner. If they're not able to especially with training, especially after you've been compassionate 3, 4, 5 times, then maybe there is a different role that they would be better suited for.
Or, and now that I'm going to throw out what Andy Ellis, my co-host, he said, look, if this is not his primary responsibility, you just essentially you essentially disconnect them, like you create this sort of way station in between for them, because their job
Sure.
is to be a mechanic.
Sure.
In this situation. Hey, so Ian Pointer asked this question, and this is a really good one, because I think this can get into some overwork. How much should a company get involved with personal security? Questions on what to do at home often seem to come up to security people. So yes, with a lot of people working at home, this is important, but at the same time, and if they're getting into your personal, they can get to your business as well.
Sure.
So how do you ride the line here? Like, how much are you working on the home security setup? Austin, what's your take?
Yeah, I think I got 2 thoughts on that. The first one is I love getting those questions when somebody says, "Hey, I got a weird phone call," or "I got this odd text message," or "I got a like that." Indicates that they're thinking about security in a general way. It's not only thinking about it in this like for my company on my laptop sort of thing. So I love getting those questions from folks. I think the other thing that I think about when it comes to how somebody's personal environment can affect the company itself, it was much more of a conversation maybe 2 years ago whenever most everybody was working at home all the time about how does the security of somebody's individual Wi-Fi potentially have implications for my company. And I think that comes down to how you secure your endpoints or how you secure those connections. If you're requiring a VPN to get back to the most sensitive systems, things like that. I think there's a lot of ways that you can create those accesses to make it a secure way, because folks are mobile, they're traveling, they're at home, they're in the office, people are all over the place, and it's mostly just happening right here through your laptop. So there's certainly ways to do it, but I like I said, I really do love getting those questions because it indicates that folks are thinking about it in a wider way.
All right. What are your thoughts about it? How far should one go to get involved in personal security, Brad?
Oh, that's such a tough question.
Why would you want to? Why would you not to? Let's start with that. Why yes? Why no?
Why yes is if working from home creates enough risk to warrant it. If the risk is minimal for what you do, what industry you work in, what company you work in, I don't know that level of reach is needed. So I hate to just default to it depends, but it really, I do think it depends in this situation.
Okay. All right. Let's move on to our next question here. Oh, more questions in our inbox. Very good. No, that was question. Well, Chris asked a very valid question. Does a mechanic need an external email? And that goes along that's where we could create a dividing line. Probably not. Let's get rid of their external email capability, or like nothing from outside the company can come in.
Yeah.
All right. Let's talk about the level of transparency. What type of transparency are we talking about in a security culture? What are we looking at here, Austin?
Yeah, again, that's a tough question. There's an appetite sometimes for being transparent. Hey, these are the kinds of things that we're doing on your endpoint to monitor your activity. It's a fine line, obviously, between saying we're doing this and we're watching you because we're Big Brother, or this is in place to benefit you, to protect you, to keep the company safe. Making the argument that what you have in place is used for its intended purpose. We're not here to watch your productivity. I don't care what you're doing, so long as you're not putting us at risk, that sort of thing. And making sure that folks know that the security team, it ultimately has your best interest at heart, is something that you have to take pains to do, because if you're going to be transparent, you are going to run the risks of folks being turned off by the fact that they're aware of what's going on. There are a lot of companies and there's a lot of security programs who choose obscurity and say, I'm not going to talk about what I do. I'm not going to talk about the kind of visibility I have into your activity or your endpoints. And I can appreciate why that's a tempting option, but from a culture building perspective, I can't advocate for it.
Mm-hmm. Brad?
Yeah. I think, that if the transparency doesn't create negative impacts to morale, and it doesn't create risk to the company, I'm all for it. I think.
Well,
I think that
nothing is absolute ever one way or the other. So, I mean, you
no.
always have to find that happy balance. What have you done to play that happy balance, I guess? Yeah. If something creates no risk, we're always for it. Yay!
Oh, absolutely. But there's never no risk.
There
right.
you go.
Okay. So let me refine my statement. There's no significant risk, right? Like, okay. I think I personally prefer transparent environments. I do. So as an end user, if I'm aware that there's an awareness an awareness program in place, I'm all for it. If there's insider threat program in place, like I'm glad that there's controls in place to help protect the company. So there's ways that you can spin it and really just solicit people's buy-in.
Okay. All right, let's move. We are how many minutes? We're just about 4 minutes away from playing our next game, of which we will also. So you have just 4 minutes to vote in the polls. If you have not done already, please do that voting. Get in there and vote. We got a lot of great activity in the chat room, so thank you everybody.
Yeah, Ian's comment about transparency being easier for smaller companies can absolutely empathize with that.
Oh yeah, once you're public, it's a whole different story.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Transparency is not an easy game.
No. and just culture is harder at that point too. If you have 5,000-10,000 people in your company, your culture is slightly more nebulous. It's not as well regulated, well defined as it is when you've got, say, a 500 person company.
Absolutely. Yeah. I mean, the culture from, accounting department, right, or even accounting teams is going to be vastly different from, somewhere over in,
and this delves into the human psychology a little bit more, but like there's an ideal community size that like you as a human can sort of keep all together, where you see all of those people as sort of a part of you or a part of your tribe, as it were. And you get these organizations that are larger than that. It's hard for you to extend that to every member of that community.
What I'm interested in, honestly, think about your customer who you think these people have totally figured out security culture. Like they're doing it so right.
Sure.
Describe to me what that environment looks at and why you think it's so good.
Yeah, I think it's a combination of a lot of small things. It's walking the walk. Yes. So I think it's also usually what I see that's a net positive is a willingness to reconsider your opinions or your decisions on some recurring cadence. Everybody's got security policies, but how often are you looking at, here is the policy that I have, and here's sort of what the reality is of how my people are working or how they're utilizing this policy to get things done, and say where you're having to get around that and where folks are potentially violating policy on a recurring basis. I always think those things are the best opportunities to see, how should I be changing policy? How could I potentially adapt to meet the organization where it's at, versus saying I'm gonna shut this down. I'm gonna prevent this sort of activity that's going on that's maybe in the gray area between secure and insecure. If we can find a way to do what you need to do in a way that is more secure, I think that is the best way to sort of have the security program and the culture bend a little bit toward what people are doing. And I think it does engender some good faith with folks as you show that you're not just here to be the band hammer. You're not just here to only tell people no.
Mm-hmm. What about you? I mean, you could speak to what the environment is at Best Buy as compared to other organizations you've been at. What do you know about that security culture?
Oh boy. And I got to put everything through a filter now, right? I don't want to disclose any confidential information.
No, but more about people's attitude towards security.
Yeah, honestly, I've been very impressed with the work that's been done. overall with just security culture and the consistency around it. I think consistency is key in just building up the muscles needed to be running a mature security organization. So, there's all the standard stuff out there that companies do and the tools available. And I've been extremely happy with it. All
right.
I definitely feel like
that thought. We just got a call that came in.
Yep.
Hello, welcome to the Department of Yes, where no request is ever rejected.
All right, we have some horrible ideas here. They're really bad. And so you know how this game's played. I'm going to make both of you answer this. I'm going to give you a bad idea from one of our great attendees here, and you have to tell me why you want to actually deploy it, where the silver lining is. We know it's bad, but there's going to be some reason you find it's good. Both of you need to answer. Remember, the audience you're trying to convince is the audience in that chat room. All right? And me, for that matter, too. So remember, you can't be facetious. This first one was from Dwayne Gran, and he says, make all phishing results and awareness training scores public within the company to shame anyone who doesn't do well. Austin, why do you want to do this?
I want to do it because it's effective. Nothing corrects behavior like some social shame. And if I find my name on that scoreboard, boy, I'm going to be looking at my email box a lot harder.
Ah, that's a good point. Yes, social shame. I want to get off that list.
Sure.
All right. Nobody wants to be on the naughty list. Brad, where do you stand? Why do you want to do this?
Competition is great. And publishing this list publicly is going to allow all employees to compete with each other and just show who ranks number one amongst everyone.
Well, number one, you don't want to rank number one on this list.
Sorry,
you want
to
be off of this list. Yeah, is the idea. So I'm going to give you a and a all at the same time. Okay. So, by the way, Brian Colt had a lot of really good bad ideas. In some way, so one of them is isolate your security staff from the rest of the organization. They only get in the way of productivity with their controls and security awareness. I like that, and give your security champions the authority and incentive to administer corporal punishment to observe security violations. Yeah. Left your workstation unattended and unlocked. That's a paddle. So these are all great bad ideas. We all appreciate this. But I'm going to throw this last one out that Brian had. Again, it appears everyone likes Brian's bad ideas. Mm-hmm. Kudos to Brian. Sorry for the boss. Hire enough, and this goes to you first, Brad. Hire, and why do you want to do this? Hire enough security personnel so you have a 1-to-1 ratio. By the way, I can always tell you what I like about this. So you have a 1-to-1 ratio of security to staff. Assign the security personnel to shoulder-serve employees to observe, report, and correct staff activities. Why do you want to do this?
Oh, because nothing's better for morale than just having someone constantly watch over your shoulder.
No, that's facetious. I'm not letting you win that one. Boo. Boo. All right. Austin, you take this one. There's an obvious answer to this one.
Yeah, because then I can report that we have no security violations ever. It is an impossibility as a result of this policy.
Yes, that is correct. And not only that, think about this for a second, Brad. 1-to-1 security to personnel. Look how huge your security staff is. That's awesome.
It is awesome.
That is the
Good
part
job,
that's
security,
awesome.
Right?
You are a security company. Doesn't matter what else you do. You're now a security company.
Yes, exactly. Good job to everybody. Good job for both of you on this. Let's move on. Oh, by the way, is our poll for the good tips, the 10%? We got actually a good number, 10% to how not to build security. Yeah. Oh, yeah. Tips to build security culture. That tip. In fact, you can drop the bad ideas, and so everyone can see. And you just did it like that. Aaron, our producer, is always on it. Way to go, Aaron. Thank you very much. The votes for tips to build security culture, of which there's a lot of great stuff in there. Please go vote for it. And in fact, let's take a look at some of these that we really like. In fact, this is probably more good tips we've ever gotten. All right. This is a good one. And Aaron, tell me who said this or speak up. Give role-appropriate explanations of the importance of security measures and security culture. That's interesting. Role appropriate. help people feel like they're part of the security team. If they feel like active participants, then they're more likely to take ownership of the program and be more. All right, I'll start with you. Brad, you're nodding your head here. I'm interested. How do you give that role appropriate explanation to their value? And pick any role. Like, give me an example.
Sure. Like within security or just like
No. The
in
non-security
general?
people, like
The larger
why
one, sure.
their role is important and like how
Sure.
they're involved in the whole mechanism of the business.
Yeah. Okay. So I'll pick on marketing, right?
Oh, that's Kira Wojak. That's hers. Okay. Thank you, Kira.
So marketing, right? I know a lot of security people struggle, right, with the amount of data that people in marketing want to collect, right? And there's value there with what they do, because if they can't sell the product, if they can't make us money, we're not in business. But they need to do it in a secure way. And so as a security professional, you need to go to the table with them and figure out how you can enable them to find the most secure way forward in what they want to accomplish without negatively impacting any revenue that could potentially be coming in.
What about you? Give me an idea, Austin, on this sort of role specific explanation.
Yeah, I mean, there are different considerations. If you're a developer and you have access to the code base, or again, Brad, as you're saying, if you're a marketer and you're constantly sharing things with external parties, you have very different concerns. So tailoring those security trainings to those roles, I've seen it be effective, because obviously you think about the inverse. Those marketing people don't necessarily care about how to push code via the command line securely. That's not part of their role, and correspondingly your developers or your business staff, that's not secure external sharing is not necessarily something they do on a regular basis.
Very good. All right, lots of good. Most of this is just the security team being more positive. Interested to know from our audience and from the two of you, how do you get the security team to be just more connected to essentially security team, people not being afraid to talk to security, because hopefully it's not that much anymore, but people are afraid to talk to security, don't you think?
Sure. Yeah, absolutely. I think it makes folks nervous when security enters the chat, as it were. So not only walking the walk, as I say, about making sure that every one of your interactions is based in that sort of, let's figure out a way to solve this problem together, but to be available, to make yourself available. I'm a big fan of like a security brown bags or lunches, lunch and learn, things like that. Putting your security team,
free food.
Who doesn't? Yeah, exactly. And making sure that your security team is out in front of the company, because ultimately they are your customer. You as the security team serve the organization. And I like to think about the security team as the shepherds and the company as the flock, as it were. So they are in a lot of ways protecting the people from themselves, or the company from external threats as well. So it is, I think it's not a long leap to see compassion from a security analyst seat. It's just not maybe the typical way to think about it.
All right. Let me remind everybody, the link at the bottom of the screen is to register for next week's Super Cyber Friday on hacking the software supply chain. Please do me a favor. You're only going to have a few more minutes to be able to click that link now. Now you can register later by going to our site, but that will take more steps. It's so much easier to just click the darn link right there and now. And again, you're entered to win the awesome CISO Series fleece. You want one of those. In fact, I'm not wearing it, but it looks a lot like the one I'm wearing right now, but it's not this one. All right, let's go. Do we have any more questions coming in? Let me see what this is here. For me, security, comes from Ian Pointer. For me, security culture is from the top down. Oh, this is a good point we have not brought up. What would you suggest an organization where the exec team don't set a good example? Yes, let's start with you, Brad, on this one. So maybe I'm going to take it the opposite from Ian's point is, where have you seen top exec do set a good example? Where it's bad? And I mean, more than just saying, hey, guys, can we be more secure? But really
complete
walk
your
the
trainings.
walk.
Right. A lot of this stuff is so heavily influenced by top leadership in order for it to go downstream and be successful. And so if you have leadership that just isn't there, you need someone to solicit their buy-in and show them the value of, you know, security awareness, security programs in general, so that they understand. It really comes down to just influencing them, and it can be a really hard thing to do when you're not at that position in the company. Just influence without authority. But again, as long as you can define the value and find a way to put dollar signs behind it so that they understand, you know, you can.
Well,
you can work
they are
them
definitely,
over.
when they talk to the security team, you know, separately. Austin, give me an example of a great top executive that really kind of walks and talks the talk with security, and then walk it back to Ian's specific question of like, how do you do it when you got one that's a loser?
Sure, and this is a little self-serving, honestly, but my current executives do a great job of this, and it's mostly
You're also in the business of security. I would hope
exactly.
anyway.
So it doesn't really count, because again, well, we talk about it a lot, and that's really what it
It's
is.
like saying, you know, my mom thinks I'm fantastic.
well, she does, but yeah, but it is about making sure that it's a regular topic. Like talking about security during your company all hands is something that, you know, not just, you know, hey, go out there and complete your trainings, but to talk about sort of how those things impact the company generally. Making the case from the top really does help folks to understand the importance there. But when you, to Ian's point about when you don't have it, it would be potentially about trying to get to that individual to make sure that they can understand why it's important, and also to maybe drive home that the influence that they have over the organization could really be a benefit to everybody, not just to the security team. Because when the company is more secure, everybody benefits, and so them being in a position to amplify that message should be fairly evident once they understand.
Exactly my point. All right, Libby, I want to look at also some of the good tips coming in, and if you have any last minute questions, please get them in right now. Hey, let me go through this other question. Is what about other? Let's talk about like specific areas in terms of getting more involved in specific categories, like with the procurement process or with HR, or like, is there a different balance that you play in terms of building security culture in unique departments? Brad, I mean, pick a department, how you handle that differently. Walk me through.
Sure. Yeah. Well, I mean, I'll take it from the perspective that like the relationship just does not exist, right? So
I mean, if the relationship doesn't exist,
You're
does not
starting
exist.
from zero.
Yeah,
okay.
from zero. Okay.
Okay.
And let's pick on procurement. Right. They've got a lot of insight into the tools and products and services in the environment. Right.
Mm-hmm.
And so there's a lot of risk there. And if you can come to the table and, you know, again, just solicit their buy-in. You need to come up with proposals, make them feel important. Obviously, you know, just get their feedback, address concerns, work to implement a process in place. There's just a lot of groundwork that needs to go in to developing a relationship from scratch in these higher risk areas where security needs to be at the table.
Austin?
I'm just going to steal what Dutch says here, in that good culture benefits the customers, the shareholders, the company in general. So making sure that when you have a team that you need to work with, let's say it's HR, they have a unique set of concerns, because obviously they are the guardians of the people in that organization. So making sure that you're sort of speaking to their specific concerns about how you're going to use the information that you maybe need them to give you. You need them to tell you when they are hiring people, when they're firing people, or when maybe somebody's on a performance plan. Especially when you talk about HR, I find that it's helpful to demonstrate why you need the information, how you're going to use it, and also how you've put up some guardrails to make sure that you're not going to have anything go wrong, or somebody's not going to be discriminated against for one thing or another, and folks are not going to end up misusing the information that HR is giving, because obviously they have it and it's their duty to protect it. So if they're going to let you as the security team into that boundary, you need to make sure that you're operating in a way that's not going to make them nervous.
Very, very good point. All right, we're going to wrap this up, but I do want to mention that, who was it? I just saw it in a second, but Robert's mom says she thinks I'm fantastic as well. So I appreciate that. Because I didn't know that, and I feel so much better as well. We're going to come back. I'm going to want your closing thoughts, anything that you want to leave everybody with before we close, because we're about to wrap it up. Next scheduled show is Hacking the Software Supply Chain. Again, May 19th. You can go ahead and click that button at the bottom of the screen right now, because it's going to change in just seconds. That's going to be a great conversation, just like this one as well. So, Aaron, by the way, you can change the thing at the bottom. If you register early, now you see, I told you it changed, but guess what? You can always go to our site. We have an events page. You can always find it on the events page. If you register early, you can enter in a raffle to win a CISO Series jacket. When is early? By Tuesday, 5 p.m. Pacific. Get registered by then. Why not just do it now? And you're automatically. Somebody tell Ricardo he's won. All right. Hey, huge thanks to Code 42. That's Austin's company for sponsoring this. In fact, Code 42 has been an absolutely spectacular sponsor of the CISO series, and we greatly appreciate it. Hey, guess what? Starting in 90 minutes from now, Cybersecurity Headlines Week in Review. We actually do it over on the CISO series YouTube channel, but you'll see it like restreamed on LinkedIn. Anyways, leave your comments. We go over the week's news, and we have a fantastic guest today, Paul Connolly, who's the former CISO just recently. 29 years being a security leader, this guy. I don't think we've had anyone that long as a security leader. And we've had him on the show before. He was with HCA Healthcare. He was there for 20 years. All right, stick around for the meetup. That link that Aaron just changed it, you can click it right now. It will open up a whole new platform called Toucan, and we get to have a live conversation. I am talking again to you, those of you who have never, ever come. Please come to this, because it is a lot of fun for us to have face-to-face conversations, and I want to chat with you. I'm hoping to see new people there. So come. If you're a new person and I haven't chatted with you, be there. That's an order. Tell your friends to join us. We do this. I say this every Friday, but lately it has actually been a little bit loose because of a lot of other conflicts in my own travel, for that matter. But we usually do it every Friday at 1 p.m. Eastern, 10 a.m. Pacific. But the way you can check this out, just go to our events page. See when the next ones are coming up. Register for them. And if you want to sponsor one, our next one available is, I believe, July 28th. Email me, david@cisoseries.com. All right. With that said, we have just about 2 minutes left in our show. I will start with you, Austin. Austin, last thoughts on this conversation. And let me throw this out. What do you think is the one thing most security people aren't doing that they could do to improve their company's security culture?
Talking. Mostly talking to their company, talking to their executives, talking to the teams, making friends, and being beneficial to the folks that you serve in your company is probably the number one.
Brad, what's your thought? Same thing.
Yeah, I agree. I totally agree with Austin. Talking is so important. The communication is key. Just getting out in front of the company and actively working to improve behaviors. I'll just end it with this too. Just because people care, just because people are aware, it does not mean that they care. And that's what you need to focus on.
Security awareness ain't enough.
Exactly.
That's why we're talking about culture here. Very good point. I like that as a closing. All right. Austin, any last thoughts? Thank you so much for Code 42. Any last thoughts in terms of people getting involved with Code 42, whether their jobs opening? Give me a last pitch here, and then we're going to roll this over.
Yeah, stuff's on our website. We do insider risk software. I think it's pretty great. I do use it on a regular basis. And we've got job openings available. We've also, if you're interested, reach out either directly or through our website.
All right. Excellent. Thank you, both of you, for joining us. And we're going to wrap this up. Can I get everybody to click that darn link at the bottom of the screen and join us for the meetup portion? Everybody click it now. Aaron, take us out of here.